you're supposed to do now after the diagnosis. And I think it was mindfulness, meditation, all of these things. And what came up in me is, oh shit, now she has another list of things to do to be good, to be normal, to do this. Is that all true?
Yeah, I think you've pretty much nailed it because I mean it really is. It's overwhelming. And it kind of like, and I hate to bring it up because it's sad, but the loss of someone special in your life, you're the stages of mourning. Well, this is the stages of neurodivergence birth. You go through so many stages. You go through the elation and finally I have answers.
Yeah.
Angry, like, why wasn't I diagnosed sooner? Life would have been so much different had I known and had we approached things differently. I do not blame my parents or my family whatsoever. They didn't know any better. That was the era, and I love the fact that over the last 10, 15 years, we're learning so much more. I mean,
Yeah.
every day there's more and more studies being done regarding neurodivergence and how it affects us as we age. And I've listened to a few podcasts and read a few articles that have to deal with how, as we get older, especially with the female anatomy, the perimenopause, and how the estrogen and the hormone imbalances really affect us neurodivergence wise.
Yeah.
And I mean that hit me. I think it was 2019 that I stopped with menstruation. Um, but I had so many crazy ups and downs, and um, I had a slipper socks day in 2012 because of major changes and anxiety and
A leopard socks day?
slipper sock vacation. So in other words,
No.
I checked myself in to
Oh,
behavioral.
damn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's kind of a way to say it without saying, yeah, I was locked up
Yeah.
for a weekend in the loony ward because I wanted to kill myself. And we
I
do. I
prefer
mean,
to call it self-care.
yeah, yeah, that's a lot more, and there again, that's the stigma, my self-stigma and self-ableism slipping
Yeah.
through. I mean, because that's how things were thought of back then. That was the way everybody talked about mental health. Oh, you're depressed, you're crazy.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it then just became something to be ashamed about and to hide. And
Yes.
so layers and layers of burying it really much deeper.
Yes, masking more, trying harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying harder. Excellent.
Yeah, but I'm gonna do better next time. You get fired from a job, and oh, I'm not good enough for that either. So, am I even worth working? I can't do anything, and then fighting through
Yeah.
that and crawling your way out, and getting another job, and it's
Yeah.
exhausting, and it's very tough for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh,
I was let go, fired, whatever you want to call it, from a job that I didn't even like, and I was still devastated, right?
yes. And
Because it
you tell
meant
yourself,
something
yeah,
about me, right?
right. And even and like you get your coaching, you have your friends tell you it's okay. That didn't work out. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you weren't good at that job.
Yeah,
So,
and as soon as you have accumulated some data and you're remembering these rejections, right? That
yes.
those little what do I want to call them, like Atta girls or whatever, don't work. Like
No. Yeah, the self-pep talk or and I focused so much on meditating and positive affirmations and my all of and it became toxic to me. And one of the exercises they want you to do is to look in the mirror and tell yourself you love yourself. I can't even really look at myself in the mirror. I mean, I rarely do my hair, I don't wear makeup. Um, if I do my hair, it's twisted up into a bun like it is now, you know? But every blue moon, if I decide to go people, go out in public to, listen to live music at a bar, my husband and I love we have several friends that are very talented, that we love to go listen to, but it's too people-y, you know? It gets too crowded, and I don't have an escape route. I can't get right out the door, all those things. Those are the only times I like do my hair up really nice and put a little bit of eyeliner and mascara on and stuff like that. So otherwise I can't look at myself in the mirror. I don't know why. Sure.
That's yeah.
Well, especially the last couple 3 years,
Yeah.
I it's and getting prescription glasses. When I look in the mirror, right off the bat, I see my mother, and that's bittersweet because she
Mhm.
passed away, 21 years ago now. Um,
Mm.
so
Wow.
it's bittersweet, but at the same time, then that goes away, and then I realize, oh, okay, here's this person. Who is she? And I don't know if that's like
Mhm.
dissociation because of my self ableism and still not feel that little being inside of me saying you're not good enough, or I don't know. So many people say, oh,
Right.
you're a beautiful woman and you're so good looking and blah blah blah, and it's
Mhm.
like, what? I don't care. I this So I don't know if that's might be part of it, is the fact that I've kind of lost my identity from so
Yeah.
many years of masking and stuff.
Can we slow down there and just kind of dig in and get to know experience? Yeah. So just even right now imagining, okay, I'm gonna go look in the
Ooh,
mirror. What sort of happens in your
yeah,
body or what thoughts come to mind?
that's a revelation. That's that really makes a lot of sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, and see, and as I'm talking to you now, I
Hmm.
can say that this person is a good woman. She's been through a lot of trauma from being
Yeah.
neurodivergent, um, and she's persevered for 55 years. I've got a
You're
hundred
like, I look
percent
like my
track
mom.
record
Moms
at
aren't
surviving a
sexy.
day every day for 55 years. And that says a lot considering how we can get so
Yeah.
low. Um, but at the same time, there's that
Yeah.
perfectionist in me, the
Well,
one that's saying you're not good
honestly,
enough, you need to make more money
with
because
such
you're
a
always stressed about
dramatic
how am I going to pay the next bill? How am I
diagnosis
going to
and like
put gas in the
unmasking and
car?
all
How am
of
I going to,
that, it
so
makes
that,
sense
I mean, and
that you
and
wouldn't
therein is,
necessarily recognize
you
yourself.
know, and I think, the
Yeah.
stressing of just doing day to day
What's it like to hear
life
that?
sometimes too can kind of take our focus away from our positives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you kind of get in touch with that one, I don't know, voice in your thoughts or whatever, um, that says, "Who is that?" Um, what is that one trying to figure out when it asks,
Yeah,
"Who is that?"
you know, it's so hard because when you ask really deep questions like this for like self-work and what I think the
Yeah.
perfectionist would be saying, my thoughts scatter in a thousand different directions in typical neurodivergent
Yeah.
fashion, you know? Like, "Oh, well,
Yeah, right?
thank you. I appreciate that because it's so frustrating." It's like, like, my husband, for example, will ask me a question, and I'll just go mute, and he's like, "Hello?" And it's like, I can't answer
Yeah.
because my mind went poof, and there's a thousand different highways my thoughts went down all at once, and I don't know how to answer. It's like, "Give me a minute to process."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 That's like, well, which
Yeah.
train of thought should I focus on? So, yeah, I get kinda lost then in the weeds because
Yeah.
it's like,
In this
it's a
visualization of looking at yourself in the mirror,
I don't know if
um,
there's a part of it that I don't
what
is
might the
when
perfectionist
you can't identify your
think or say,
feelings,
um, especially
if
now
that
that it
is,
makes
like,
sense? Oh, hey, who are you?
integrated into that whole thing and why it's so hard to, like. Yeah,
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Can I just let you know that that's okay? That is okay. Yeah.
right.
Mm.
Right?
Well, yeah, you have 1,000 routes that you're going down. Maybe other people only
I
have 1
love
or
it.
2.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yes.
In the scattering? Yeah, if ah, there's a couple of reasons why
Yeah,
people
I
have a
mean,
hard
and
time, identifying their
with my
feelings,
brain
and,
being so
I'm
on
imagining
overdrive all the
that
time,
there are
I
parts
end
of your
up
mind that
doom
have spent
scrolling
decades
or,
like, "Okay,
um,
this is where
playing a
anger
game
shows
on my
up
phone
and
because
is going
I'm
through
trying to
all of
process, and
the
those are little
ideas of
things
trying to
that
figure out what
my
am I
brain can work
feeling,
in the
right? And
background
being
while
really
I'm kinda keeping busy in the
proactive
forefront,
even
but
about
it
it.
it it becomes
Um,
distant to my
Whereas
husband.
maybe
He's sitting
someone
in
is
his recliner
really
right
in
next to me, and
tune
he's just like,
with that particular
you know.
feeling,
But
no
and he's the same way
trauma,
in a
like,
lot of aspect
no
too, because that's how
trauma.
he unwinds when he gets home
um,
from a long day of work.
had this
But sometimes it's just
imaginary
like,
easy life, but
"Hello, are you present?"
I lost my train of thought.
He's like, "I'm just off in my own little thing with all my thousands of thoughts and trying to calm down, trying to
um,
relax, trying
but
to."
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? Because being neurodiverse, we're gonna come up with um, diverse ways of trying to solve different problems. And if figuring out our feelings
Yeah, and that
happens to be
loops right
one,
back around to the
then you've got a
ableism
way
and
to
stuff.
figure
It's
it
like,
out.
I
And
should do
you're
better.
probably running
I should
with
be a
a
better wife.
similar
I should,
computer as your husband,
when in
right?
actuality,
And so, okay,
I'm
wait,
pretty
I
amazing,
have
and
a
my
few
husband
things to
tells me
do
every
over
single
here,
day
right? I
how
got
much he
this much RAM,
appreciates
you
me
got
and
that
how
much
awesome I
RAM,
am,
go.
and you know, no, yeah, it just kind of slides right off. Yeah, on the same train of thought, with the
Yeah.
RSD, here we go. One little suggestion about changing the way I do something. in order to accommodate him because he's got health issues. Then it's like I go the opposite direction. That just I absorb it. I go off the deep end and yeah.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and it almost sounds like there's a sense of guilt about that, or like, some meaning making about who you are. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And as we touched base
yeah.
in the
Are
initial
you able to
interview
take
the
that
other day,
in? Like, what does it
how I
feel like,
always wanted to be just
really?
like my big
Mm,
sis, my sister that's 8 years my
yeah,
senior that I idolized. I wanted to be just like her. Um, and she was just a child, and I was always in her hair. I was always tagging behind her. I was trying to be a Velcro kid to her. But she would say, "Oh, you're just being selfish." Or
okay, check,
quit
check, check, check,
bragging.
check.
It's not becoming for a
Yeah,
girl. There's a
yeah.
good one.
Do you think that,
That type of thing
well,
to
I'm not
where,
gonna say
or
think. I'm gonna have
just
you
circumstances
attempt
like
to feel
group of
into it.
friends that you had in
Oh,
in
funny.
middle school that
Um,
all ganged up on you and said, "Oh,
how might
you
that
always
be
talk about
related
yourself and you don't care
to what
about
we
what
talked
other
about
people
in the
say,"
beginning, where
and
um,
that and taking that
female
in. And
bodies are
so
trained
those
in
really
certain
hurt,
ways
and I
and
had
trained
to
to
process
last?
through those, but they were the
And
truth and I needed
uh,
to hear them.
yeah,
And I have no ill
get these
feelings. I mean,
things
but it
sort
was
of,
a big
this is
to
normal, this is
do at the
good.
time. It was
Um,
devastating to
and I'm
hear those
referring
things. And I
almost
think a lot
specifically
of that
to
is my, like, I've
taking
built up my
in
defenses
compliments
around
or
that.
love or
So
approval.
it's like
Like, there,
that
it seems to me
feeling of never
there's
being good enough,
something
the
dangerous
unworthiness kind
about
of
it.
keeps it, you know, from absorbing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And and even like as for friend perspective, is the fact that you try to be supportive of your friends. And
Yeah.
I've had people in my come into my life that were very attracted to my energy
Yeah.
because I had this awareness of a lot of deep things about
Yeah.
mental health.
It's almost
And
like,
now
if you
what I'm
do get that kind
realizing
of
is that
feedback
I've
in
always
any
been
sort of
accepting of people
relationship,
because I always felt different too,
it's kind of, it's
you know?
devastating,
And so
um,
I
because that group
accepted
of girls
people
leaves
and
and is
looked
mean,
past
or,
even physical
your
things
idol
because my
is
heart
no
identifies,
longer being the way she was
so I've
earlier
had
in
them
the
come in and
day,
I've given them
right?
advice
And
and I
so,
end up getting too involved.
um,
And
being very vigilant
over the years
to
I've
make sure
learned to
that
be
those sort of
neutral.
of comments or feedback
in
or
order for them to
ideas
make their own
don't
decision, because
happen.
yes, we can
Makes a
fix
lot of
too
sense to
hard.
me. Yeah. 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 It's like a protector that is trying its damnedest to do something
Yes,
and like maybe doesn't even realize there's another way or
exactly. And it's
I was
not that
telling
we
this story the other
don't.
day that I was helping somebody, but then I was
Sometimes
helping
we
too
have
much,
too
right?
much, and we have to dissociate a little in order to, because sometimes you know, I can cry at the silliest of things. I killed a stink bug cleaning a house today, and I shed some tears. It's like, I hurt him. It's a bug. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can really, and a lot of us have adapted to be sensitive to energies of a person, it's like,
Wow.
especially if we grew up with an alcoholic, for example, or someone who was also neurodivergent and couldn't control, had regular just
Nice.
dysregulation, and
Yeah.
so you never knew when you walked into a room whether what you could tell by you learn to identify by the energy that they were maintaining, as to whether or not you needed to put your guard up or mask even more, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I love what you're
and
what
so
you're
yeah,
saying
I think
here
it's a
because it
developed thing
speaks
for a lot of
to
us, probably
another
as trauma response.
stereotype about autism, uh, that autistic people don't have empathy, right? No, there's many studies that
Yes,
say we have too much. Mm,
right. Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. And it's like, oh, you're throwing a tantrum, when in actuality we're having a meltdown because we have so much emotion that we have to release it somehow. Um, it, but no, she's having a tantrum. She's just looking for attention. Yeah, don't get dirty. I broke that rule.
Hmm.
Dubbed the tomboy. I hung out with two neighborhood boys quite a bit growing up.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Yeah. Uh, yeah, because if
Love it. I
anyone is
love
put
your hair.
into an environment where they're literally processing different. I mean, put me in the ocean and I am going to process different than a fish, right? Um,
I'm sure.
there's going to be some sort of misunderstandings and trauma that, hey, our parents didn't exactly know how to regulate with us, right? No one told them that this is what you do for an autistic female that is verbal, that is this. Yeah.
Yes, it does. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would like,
But girls
oh.
don't get dirty.
I don't know where to go with this.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
me a favor
I
and
was definitely
rephrase
a
the
tomboy.
question.
I went to an all girls high school and people did their hair and their makeup and I was like, why? You know, that's been one of my things. So like with my diagnosis and understanding masking and feeling safe, letting some of those masks
Okay.
down, hence the hair. Um Thank you. Um, uh, I've had to go back and rewrite a bunch of things. Um, like, oh, hey, I thought that was complex trauma. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was this. Maybe it's that. And almost like a whole bunch of images will come to mind as I process and see different examples, right?
All
And like put the
right.
memory back in a
My, you
different
know, and
way.
this is my
Is
brain
does that
going,
any of that resonate
is
with
like, I don't know why I
your
screech to a
last year and
halt
a half, two
when
years
asked to
of
do that.
realizing that you're can you tell us one of those stories or examples?
Yes.
Whatever's comfortable. Don't go bearing your soul to some people you haven't even seen.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And take your time
I feel exactly what you're
until
talking
something
about.
really
I've
calls
been
to
there
you.
and
Like,
done
oh,
that.
yeah, here, I want to share this. Um,
All
so
right.
this like
Love it.
coming to terms with the new diagnosis, right? Um, I'm saying I had to go back and look at all of my experiences, all, right? And different ones would pop up. And with this new knowledge I had about, yes, here's your autism report. And man, I might just edit this out because I'm not
Yeah.
asking the question any freaking better. Can I
Yeah.
try it
There,
again?
and see, I think part of this question, my, I, I'm going back to memories that are popping up that I feel so terrible and have so much shame about.
We just
And
saw
now that
one
you're
of my
saying
things
this
though.
is like,
Um,
for example, one
I'll
time there
have
was a
something
stray dog in the
easy in my
neighborhood,
head,
and
but
I've
then
always
I
had a
totally
huge
overthink
heart
it.
for animals.
And
Again, the
I make
empathy.
sure to stop a
So
sentence
here was the
midway
stray
and insert
lab
some other
mix, and
information that,
my
you know,
parents
I
weren't
think is
the
relevant
type
in the
that
moment. And then I
wanted to
can't
have
spit the
anything to
words
do
out
with
of my
pets.
mouth.
My
So it
mom
goes
kept
really
a very clean
slow.
house, that type of thing. And
I'm
the
good.
fact that they're a lot of work, and mom didn't want to take on additional responsibility, and who can blame her? I understand as I get older, but
So let
here's
me try
this
one more
puppy, and
time.
I was being very selfish. I was hogging
um,
this dog.
as
I
I
was
was going
holding
through
the
the
dog and
diagnosis
cuddling him to
process
myself,
and
and the
then
neighborhood
actually
kids
got the
were all
yes,
surrounding me, and we
um,
were on my front
I learned a
porch, and
whole
I
lot
wanted to
more
keep this
about
dog, but I knew
autism and how it
the
shows
answer
up,
was
and
no. But the
um,
neighborhood kids were all ganging up
was
on me.
relearning
You have
how
to
it
let
showed
him
up
go.
for
Your
me.
mom won't let you keep
And
him.
in that process, a lot
We
of
want to
memories
take the
came up,
dog. We want to rescue
and
the dog.
I
But
had to
and
put them
I
in a
was
different
so
context
distraught.
than what I
I had a
originally knew them
meltdown.
as.
I guess I was what you would call it, but I felt so ganged up on that I actually dropped the puppy on the porch floor, and I feel terrible. But now, from the diagnosis aspect, I can look at that and say, you were overwhelmed with emotions. It is a meltdown. You weren't being mean on purpose to the animal. You did not mean to do that. And
Yep, yep, yep.
you have shame, but you didn't know better because you weren't aware of your neurodivergence, and you weren't aware of the overwhelm of emotion could cause you to do that. Yes, absolutely. Well,
Hmm.
no, exactly. To help reiterate and kind of bring that home is the fact that you treat them with acceptance. You treat them as their own unique person open-mindedly, open-heartedly, and allow them to be who they need to be because that's who they
Oh,
are,
no. Yeah.
kind of thing. That's what I took from you're saying that sentence because it could have two exact different meanings, but this is the meaning you meant, or how I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, maybe if the kids knew as well, um, things would have gone differently. Right. And maybe you can talk to some of the kids that you observe at the school, right? Is that what happens with them, right? I'm not saying like treat people differently, but I'm saying treat
Uh-huh.
people differently, right? Like everybody needs something different. I know those two sentences mean something completely different, even though they're the same words.
Yes.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, to actually be able to grasp a hold of that,
Exactly.
we went down,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
only
Like if I'm gonna
999
talk
different
to
more routes to
the,
take from here. But
neighbor's
that was
kid
one
who's 4 or
thing,
5 years
that
old, it is
you
not
helped
going
me
to be
to
the same
unpack,
as I talk to my own
sort it
therapist or as
in a
I
more
talk to
accepting manner and
uh,
put it back.
PhD uh, pro- professor, going
Sure.
over some little
Let's try.
academic thing. Um, and that could be true. Anyway, um, I wanna uh, I wanna go back to your puppy story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
um, it almost seemed like as you were retelling the story,
Yes.
what you've carried as shame, like I'm a bad person for dropping the puppy, can have this
Well,
ability, it
considering the
turns
fact that it
into
was,
guilt instead.
45
And
years
guilt
ago,
is when I made a
the
mistake,
memory may have
right?
changed a
And
little
it
bit.
it can
It's a little
feel
foggy,
awful
but but
and
still, yeah,
all of the similar things, but
I
when
had more empathy.
it
I was trying to
is
be
about your
protective of the dog,
identity as a
but then
person,
again, too,
it's shame.
it was
And
because
when it
I
is
wanted the
about
dog.
an action that can be recovered from, it's guilt. And there's a
No,
whole different way that the
no,
body
and I had
processes it.
so
And it's almost like I was watching it switch.
no, and those are things that took me a long time to work through. And I've gotten through a lot of that, which I'm so grateful. I used to, every time I would, because my sister and I rarely talk. We live within 50 miles of each other, 30 miles of each other, maybe. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I can I do one more
I've
then because
worked through so
you're
much,
awesome.
but there's so much more um, shame and
um
guilt I still
you
need to work
said
through,
I'm
and the
selfish
self
and
acceptance.
those kids told me I was selfish.
That once I get past that, I mean, if she
Yeah.
were to call and
When
invite me,
really
a lot of times I
you
was
were
like,
a
I don't want to bother
kid
her.
protecting a
She
dog
leads a very busy life, da da
and
da da da.
loving a dog
She's got,
and maybe having
uh, I
more
think,
empathy
7
than
grandchildren now,
should
and
or
4 children, and
others would. I mean,
she and her husband are involved in a
um,
lot of things, and yeah,
yeah,
so it's like I don't want to bother her, but if she were to call and say, "Hey, let's go do dinner," I would do it,
yeah,
and we'd have an excellent time. Because we've both evolved and grown as individuals. And I hold no ill feelings, even though I felt like I was never good enough in her
yeah.
eyes. And she was always
I
dinging.
don't think
And
that
I'm
makes you a
saying
selfish
always, but it
person.
was not always. It was just
I
sometimes
don't
when I
think you
did
wanting
actually
to
get on
be
her
with your
nerves.
sister makes you a
Hold
selfish
still. You
person.
can't snuggle on the couch with me unless you hold still. you know, that type of thing. And it's like I felt guilty for not being good enough, not being
Yeah.
able to do it. And this is another thing that we're unpacking now. And I'm saying, well, you couldn't. You're ADHD.
Mm.
Right. And the sad thing is the perfectionist and the guilt and the shame and all that baggage I carry. I still love my sister and she still loves me. It's like, let's work past that, Barb. Get over it.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Wow.
Patterns.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, you can give you a little hug. Or, say it different if maybe
Exactly.
someone new,
Yeah.
right? Like, "Hey, look,
Because I
sweetheart."
tend to distance myself from people because I don't want to make them uncomfortable, you know? Yeah. I'm not selfish at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it
But
reminds me
these
of
are
a
little
comedian. I
lessons that a
can't remember
kid
who, but
learned over and over
it,
again.
it
And
pops in
is
these little segments pop in my
yeah.
head of these memories of listening to shows. This one comedian's like, "Will you stop touching me? You're touching me."
Yes and no.
It's,
Yeah. I was kind of testing out some language there.
it's
So
as kids would do,
you learned
just
it
all
as a
crammed in
kid
the backseat of a car.
in
Will you stop touching me?
I do internal family systems, and internal
Oh,
family systems would hold that it's still that like heart or mind of a child that had that experience that is saying, okay, do this again because we were safer doing this. Yeah. And until
yes.
they have that big sister or mom or dad or friend that says, okay, look, I know that it's really hard for you to sit still. You're still lovable and all of that. And I don't know, need to sleep, right? Um, that one still wants to do the same strategy or pattern. I didn't.
Yes.
Well, now isn't that very caring and empathetic of you?
Yes, and go further, they couldn't vote at one point, you know? They were property of their husband, and it was expected you got married and you had children and you uh, mhm.
I'm not touching you.
It does.
Oh, excuse me. Oh man, this was amazing. And I think I think even non-neurodivergent people have a boatload to learn about this
That's a given, it's
phrase,
a guarantee.
self-ableism. And
Patience,
just
my
going
friend,
back to
it'll
the
happen.
beginning, like all of the things that we learn as children, right? From healthy families, from
This
not
is the
healthy
fun thing
families, in
too,
order to
though,
be
is
good
I've
capitalist
learned to
children,
laugh
if I may be
about
so
it.
political.
Um, I can't remember the name of the
Um,
comic strip, but
but to keep
it
us
shows a picture
to keep us
of
safe as
it's,
we
there's a
grow
sign on
up,
the door. It
right?
says
Like
"School for the
I
Gifted,"
was told
and
you need a
another
man
sign that says pull,
because
and there's the student standing there
mom
with
was
books in
told
his
she
hands
needed a
pushing.
man and
My
grandma
husband
was
has
told she needed a man
witnessed me
because
do
they
this.
couldn't have checking
And we
accounts
laugh. I
on
mean,
their own.
he's like,
Like, are you
"I
kidding
think
me?
you left a dent in that metal door when you did that." And that's the fun part because
Yeah.
I mean, I ca after how many years of trying to fix myself and working on acceptance, and
Yeah.
there's times where I'll pull
Yeah. So what
something,
once was truth,
like walk
right?
right into a door
Ends
frame
up instead of
or
just going through one
um,
person year after year,
whatever
it goes
little
generation to
antic that I
generation.
decide to do, like
And
totally mispronounce
yeah,
a word
and this is
or
mine to
ask
be
my
like,
husband
whoa,
where the
I can
lid to the
be
milk is when
independent.
it's already on
Okay,
the
I don't need to
jug. Uh,
fawn. I can make a scene. And uh
yeah, I mean, and
there's another
we can
phrase
laugh
that
about
I
some of
often
that
say.
stuff,
I have a big
It's
mouth.
like
Don't
I
worry, I'll
can't
say
fix
something. I have a
myself,
big mouth.
and I am who I am, and what am I going to pull today? Is it going to break a record? Is it going to top something else I've
Yeah,
done? Is it?
yeah.
Oh, today I tripped up the stairs and I did not hurt myself. Yes, win. Yes. And I live to tell about it. Oh, yes. I am. Actually, I like that deep conversation where we can, we connect, similarities and knowing we're not
Or play with
alone
my fingers
and
until it
understand each
starts to
other. And
bleed.
I like that back and forth. And I'm also very honored
Mhm.
to be on to do this with you. I really absolutely. Hey, book idea. I'm serious. Do you see the 1,000,000-watt light bulb that just went off above my head? I like this. Now I'm gonna have
Hey,
to
hubby,
chew
have
on
I got
this
some
now.
stories for you? I worked until
Sure.
12:30 in kitty litter mud. Yeah, yeah. Well,
That
Barb,
sounds great.
I appreciate you being here with me and letting me talk so much. Like, I definitely did a lot of talking, and we were both like, "Oh, hey, there's this thing about psychology." I'm like, "Yeah," and there's this thing. You're like, "Yeah."
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so I
Well,
hope
and
that
you
was
said Cosby, and
okay. That I got to
that's
be nerdy and
whose
chatty.
show I'm
Okay.
talking about as himself. You're st you're touching me. Stop touching me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's from Bill Cosby show. What there's so much controversy. Kind of lost respect for him. So I like didn't want to name him.
You're
So I was like, yeah, one of
welcome.
those
Wow.
comedians.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, collect those antics and stories because maybe that could be another episode. How to laugh at yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you. One of those spread cheeks, insert foot moment. Yeah, you take your.
Ooh, can I just give you some fodder then?
Oh,
You're
I
teaching
really
stained
enjoy
glass at
visiting
a
with you. This
school.
is awesome.
Why don't you ask those kids, hey, how do you laugh at yourself? And like incorporate that into the rest of the message that you want in the book.
Sounds good. You have a good night.
Because if Cosby
Yeah,
can do it,
planning on it.
I'm gonna cut that out. Did you remember that TV show, like Kids Say the Darndest Things or whatever? I'm showing my age. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that, Cosby. That's so funny. I know. Yeah, yeah. Oh, see, you have more social appropriateness than I do. I was like, wait, no, there literally was a TV show. I don't care if he did horrible things. I'm gonna make the joke anyway. And then I regret it. Which cheeks? It was really good to see you again too. And we will keep in touch. You too. Night, Barb. Get some sleep.